at this point we need to start asking, is Disney just sticking it to the comic book fan? You know, are they like purposely trying to trigger the comic book fan? Because if they are, it's working, right? A lot of comic book fans, a lot of Marvel fans are not going to be okay with this news, but get a load of this. Breaking: Marvel Studios' Armor Wars has officially been canceled. That's right, this War Machine TV show has been canceled, but at the same time, Disney and these woke freaks over at Marvel are going full steam with this Ironheart show. And what's more, we keep reading stuff about this Ironheart show, and it keeps getting worse. Right? Not only do we have to deal with this insufferable protagonist, Riri Williams, right? Over here talking about she wants to build an Iron Man armor because she wants to be iconic. Not to save people, but because she wants to be iconic. She builds this thing for her own ego. But ladies and gentlemen, it gets worse. Look at this right here. Marvel's Ironheart spotlights the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Star in a wealth redistribution storyline. That's this individual right here. Bro, I ain't gonna hold you. I'm not even gonna try and guess. I can kind of see both in there. I don't know. I want nothing to do with this, and my kids are not gonna have anything to do with this, bro. Stay your kids away from this show. It's ain't it, bro. Can you imagine? Like, you sit down your kids to watch like an Iron Man movie, Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, whatever, Avengers. You don't have to worry about exposing them to this garbage here. You don't have to worry about that, right? You just sit down and you enjoy. But now, you say, okay, well, I'm going to give this little Ironheart show a chance. You know, okay, armors, whatnot, comic book stuff. And these weirdos over at Disney, over in Hollywood, they said, we're going to go ahead and inject this woke garbage in there. Once more, Marvel's Ironheart spotlights the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars in a wealth redistribution storyline. Yeah, garbage. Complete garbage. Let's read this. Marvel Studios' Ironheart will introduce a drag character referred to as they, so it uses they pronouns, as a Robin Hood-style narrative centered on the redistribution of wealth from the privileged to underprivileged communities. In a new interview with Entertainment Weekly, it was confirmed that Shea, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars, will play Slug in Ironheart, a character described as a fierce hacker who works with a group of underground activists in Chicago. Yeah, this show has woke all over it, which I think at the time when they created the show was 2016. That was like peak woke. Right? Was it no, I'm sorry, not 2016, 2022. It was like peak woke. Let's see, let's keep reading. I guess this is what they said. This is what the actress or the actor or the drag person said. I help a group of urban Robin Hoods to take away from the privileged and help give back to the community. Cooley told EW, I'm there to help out on all the missions that go down, trying to shift the power dynamics in this version of Chicago we see in the show. How about, just a thought, since this is Chicago, right? How about we address the real issues in Chicago? How about we address the issues that are never covered in Chicago, right? How about we address the gangs? How about we make that show? How about we make an Ironheart show, right? And just listen to this premise. I'm literally coming up with this. It's not hard, right? It's not hard to come up with a story that people can get behind, right? How about we come up with a show where little Riri Williams grows up in Chicago. She sees the violence that plagues the city, right? The gangs, all these gangs, right? The drill music. And she says, you know what? It's time someone did something about this. You know, clearly maybe the cops are missing the mark a little bit. Maybe they're not doing enough. How about I do something to try and help my community? How about I build an armor to save lives, right? You got kids. You see it in the news all the time. Little kids taken out during these fights between these gangs. And the city, I think at one point, the city's like, yeah, just let him do it. Just let him go out. It's just gang versus gang. We don't care. Right? How about Riri Williams sees this and she's like, you know what? I care. I care about my community. I care about making a difference. Let me build this armor, not to be iconic, but to do something that helps out my community by stopping these gang wars. How about we see that show? And it's her versus these gangs, and it turns out these gangs are being backed by, I don't know, an entity, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. Hydra, it doesn't matter. Just an entity that goes in to create chaos. And then maybe these gangs get funded, or maybe they're given weapons, you know, high-tech weapons, maybe alien tech. Who knows? Who cares? You can do anything. Right? But at least this premise gives Riri Williams a purpose rather than what it is right now, because my understanding of this show is that Riri, she just wants to build this armor for her own selfish ambitions to, I guess, prove people wrong. She's going to MIT. She's going to MIT. Who do you need to prove wrong? You tell anybody. You walk down the street, oh, I go to school. Where do you go to school? MIT. Everyone's going to be impressed. Doesn't matter who you are. But no. Instead, the show that we're going to get, she builds this armor to be iconic. She joins this gang, and apparently this drag person's going to be in there, and it's all going to be about taking from the rich and giving it to the poor. I honestly I can't think of a single comic book fan, real comic book fan, that's on board with this story. Right? Not to mention, they're interjecting all this weird woke nonsense that, quite frankly, I think the people have spoken. We're tired of this. We're sick and tired of this. We're good. We're walking away from this. And Disney, I believe they know this, because there's been hardly any promotion for this show. Right? They're going to release it all, I think, in two weeks or something like that. And they're going to hope that people forget about it, because they know. Disney knows this. They're being prepared. They're preparing themselves to be ridiculed and mocked because of this monstrosity here. I mean, I am looking forward more to seeing the Nerdrotic videos, to seeing the Critical Drinker videos, right? Ryan Kendall, all these creators here on YouTube, me included, we are going to have a blast covering this show that it should have never been made. Never. It's going to be a complete disaster for Disney and for Marvel. Look at that, Agatha too. That's another one that I think this show, it came out already. Agatha, that's another one. Again, it's not so much that I don't think that Disney doesn't understand their audience. I think they just don't care about their audience. They don't like their audience, because they've hired all these people in there that are jaded, that they don't like the traditional comic book fan, which happens to be like a dude. You know, the dudes, generally that's who likes these comic books. The chicks don't like comic books, bro. Generally. I'm sure there are some far and in between, but for the most part, you walk up to 100 broads out in the street, maybe like 10 of them be like, yeah, I like comic books. And then even them, they like maybe just the movies. My point is, I'm generalizing here, but that's okay. This is entertainment. My point is that Disney, they don't care about their audience. They hate their audience. They want to change the way their audience thinks, right? They want to reform, restructure society to be woke. That's why they're doing this garbage here. Make no mistake about it. This is all very deliberate. They want your children to see this, right? They want your children to see these drag persons, these drag queens, whatever. They want them so they can like ask, oh, what's that? What's that? What's that? And then you have these weird conversations, and then you have the terrible parents, the woke parents that explain to their kids, oh, you know, if you want, we can, you know, little Timmy, we can put on a dress and you can pretend to be a chick. And then it creates confusion. I think Megan Fox is doing that, by the way. Like all of her kids, I think, she has like 3 boys, which that's one of the reasons I will never support Megan Fox, because I think that's just terrible. Because kids don't come up with that on their own. But anyway, you guys let me know what you think down in the comments. And like always, don't forget to subscribe. Sensational.